I still remember the way the house smelled that December. Pine needles, cinnamon, from the candles I loved, and a little bit of cold air that sneaked in every time the door opened. It wasn't shouting or slammed doors. It was smaller than that, and somehow worse. It was the slow feeling of being pushed out of my own life, one tiny step at a time, until I looked around on Christmas morning and realized I felt like a visitor in the home I had built with my own hands and heart. My name is Sarah. I was 34 that winter. Mark and I had been married 8 years, together 10. We had Lily, who had just turned 6 and still believed in magic with her whole chest, and Ben, 4 years old, who copied everything his big sister did. Our house was small, worn, a little messy in the corners, because 2 little kids lived there. I liked it that way. It felt lived in. It felt like us. Mark's mom, Ellen, had always been part of our holidays. Ever since Mark's dad passed 5 years earlier, we made sure she was never alone on Christmas. She lived 3 hours north, in the same little gray house where Mark grew up. Every November, I would call and say, "Come stay with us, Ellen. The kids can't wait to see Grandma." And she would come, usually a couple of days before Christmas, stay through New Year's, and we would all try our best. I want to be fair. Ellen wasn't a monster. She loved her son. She adored the grandchildren. She brought chocolates and knitted scarves and told the same stories about Mark learning to ride a bike without training wheels. Most years it was fine. A little crowded, a little loud, but fine. But that year, something was different. I felt it the moment she called in early November. "Sarah, honey," she said, her voice sweet as always. "I was thinking I could come a whole week early this year. I want to help you get the house ready. You work so hard, and with the children, well, I could take some of the load off." I remember standing in the kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, watching Ben try to feed cereal to his toy dinosaur. A week early. That was new. Usually, it was 3 or 4 days. But I heard the little shake in her voice, the one that said she was lonely. And I said yes before I could think too hard about it. "Of course, Ellen. Come whenever you want. We'll be happy to have you." I meant it when I said it. I really did. Imagery cue. Slow fade from phone call to car, pulling into snowy driveway. Gentle strings join the piano. She arrived on the 15th of December, with 3 suitcases and 2 big boxes of decorations she just happened to have in the attic. The kids went wild, jumping around her legs like puppies. Mark carried everything in, laughing, saying his mom always overpacked. I hugged her at the door. She smelled like the same lavender soap she had used forever. That first evening felt almost perfect. We drank hot chocolate while the kids showed her every drawing they had done since September. Ellen's eyes shone when Lily read her a whole book by herself. I remember thinking, "See, this is going to be a good Christmas." But the very next morning, while I was still in my robe pouring coffee, I noticed the living room shelves had been rearranged. My little collection of Christmas village houses, the ones Mark and I bought on our honeymoon, one every year was pushed to the back. In front, Ellen had lined up her own porcelain Santas from the 1980s. They were pretty in an old-fashioned way, but they weren't mine. I stood there, holding my mug, steam curling up, and felt the first tiny pinch in my chest. She walked in, already dressed and cheerful. "Oh, good, you're up. I hope you don't mind." I dusted a bit and made room for my pieces. They always made Mark so happy when he was little. I opened my mouth, closed it, smiled. Of course not. They look nice. That was the first time I swallowed how I really felt. It wouldn't be the last. The days started slipping. I would wake up planning to put the star on the tree with the kids after breakfast, our little tradition. But when we came downstairs, Ellen had already done it. She had also added silver tinsel, thick and shiny, the kind I never buy because it gets everywhere. "Grandma did it for us." Lily cheered. Ben clapped sticky hands. I smiled again. Inside, the pinch got sharper. Then came the stockings. I have 4 felt stockings I sewed myself the first Christmas we were married. A little crooked, yes, but made with love. One year, I even embroidered our names in red thread. I hung them every December 1st, right over the fireplace. That year, I came home from picking the kids up from preschool and found 5 stockings hanging instead. Ellen had added one of hers, big red velvet with white fur, store-bought and perfect. It was in the middle. Ours had been moved to the sides. I stood there in my coat, snow melting off my boots, staring at that velvet stocking like it had slapped me. Mark walked in behind me. He saw my face. "Mom just thought it would be nice to have one for her too," he said softly. "She'll be here Christmas morning after all." I nodded, took a slow breath, unpacked the kids' backpacks like nothing was wrong. But something was. The kitchen became the next quiet battleground. I love cooking for Christmas. It's how I show love. Chopping onions while carols play, tasting the gravy, setting the table with the good dishes we only use once a year. I had my menu planned since October. Roast turkey, sage stuffing, mashed potatoes with the skins still in, because that's how Mark likes them. Green beans with almonds, cranberry sauce from fresh berries. Ellen had other ideas. One afternoon, I came back from the grocery store and found her on the phone, ordering a honey-glazed ham. A big one, 20 pounds. "Ellen?" I asked, setting bags on the counter. "We already have a turkey in the freezer." She covered the phone with her hand. "Oh, honey, ham was always our tradition. Mark used to beg for it every year. I thought we could do both." I looked at the calendar. 9 days until Christmas. The freezer was full. My budget was already stretched. I felt my throat tighten. "That's a lot of meat," I said weak. She smiled and went back to her call. That night I lay awake, listening to Mark breathe beside me. I whispered, "She's changing everything." He pulled me close. "She's excited, babe. She doesn't have anyone else. Let her have this." So I let her. The little moments kept piling up like snow against the door. I would start to wrap presents after the kids were asleep, my quiet, happy time with ribbon and tape. I'd come downstairs and find Ellen had already wrapped half of them, using her paper, her bows, her tags. She even rewrote some of the gift tags in her perfect cursive. To Lily, with love from Grandma, Mommy, and Daddy. Grandma first. I found myself hiding gifts in my closet like a secret. One evening, I baked gingerbread with the kids. We made a mess, flour everywhere, laughing so hard my sides hurt. We left the cookies on the counter to cool. The next morning, they were gone. Ellen had boxed them up so they stay fresh and replaced them with her own spritz cookies pressed into perfect snowflake shapes. Lily asked, "Mommy, where are our funny gingerbread men?" I couldn't answer without crying, so I just hugged her. Christmas Eve arrived like a storm I didn't see coming. I had pictured a gentle night, pajamas, the Polar Express on TV, sprinkling reindeer food on the lawn, tucking two excited children into bed early. But when I came downstairs with the new pajamas I'd hidden for weeks, the living room was full of neighbors. Ellen had invited them for a little open house. There were 15 people I barely knew, drinking my eggnog, eating her cheese ball, singing carols around my piano that nobody in our family actually plays. I stood in the doorway, holding 4 pairs of matching pajamas, and felt the room tilt. Mark found me in the kitchen 20 minutes later. I was gripping the counter, trying to breathe. "Sarah?" I couldn't speak. He took the pajamas from my shaking hands. "Mom said she cleared it with you." I just looked at him. He saw then. Really saw. The party went on until almost 11. The kids fell asleep on the couch amid wrapping paper scraps and strangers' coats. I carried them to bed, still in their day clothes. No Polar Express, no reindeer food, no new pajamas. I closed their door and leaned my forehead against the wood. Silent tears ran down to my collar. Christmas morning broke gray and quiet. The kids woke at 6, as always. We stumbled downstairs. The tree lights were already on. Ellen was in her robe and slippers, camera ready. She handed out presents one by one, narrating each gift like a game show host. "This big one is from Grandma. Look what Grandma picked just for you." The kids were delirious with joy. I sat on the carpet in my old sweatshirt and watched my carefully chosen gifts get buried under a mountain of bigger, flashier things I had never seen before. A dollhouse almost as tall as Lily, a remote control car that lit up and played music. Things that must have cost hundreds of dollars we didn't have. I looked at the little handmade coupon book I had stayed up nights making for Mark. 1 free back rub, breakfast in bed, movie night of your choice. And I wanted to disappear. At one point, Ben brought me a small box. "To Mommy, love Grandma Ellen." Inside was a necklace, pretty, expensive, a gift from her to me, presented in front of everyone, like she was the one who had made Christmas happen. I thanked her. My voice sounded far away. Lunch was the final weight that broke me. The dining room smelled of ham and cloves. Ellen had cooked everything herself, directing me like kitchen staff. "Sarah, could you mash the potatoes? No lumps, please." "Sarah, set an extra place, just in case someone drops by." We sat down at 2 o'clock. Mark carved the ham. Ellen said grace, thanking God for bringing us all together in the home where my son grew up in spirit. I stared at my plate. Halfway through the meal, she raised her glass. "To family," she said warmly, "to keeping traditions alive." Everyone clinked. I lifted my water glass with a hand that trembled. After dessert, the kids went to play with their new toys. Mark fell asleep in the recliner. Ellen and I were alone in the kitchen with a mountain of dishes and the quiet that follows too much noise. I turned off the faucet. The sudden silence felt enormous. "Ellen," I said. My voice was soft, almost a whisper. "We need to talk." She looked up, drying a plate. "What about, honey?" I wrapped my arms around myself like I was cold. "This Christmas," I started, and then the words just came, slow and shaking, but steady. "You changed everything. The decorations, the food, the gifts, the party last night. You didn't ask. You just took over. And I let you because I didn't want to hurt you. But Ellen, I feel like I disappeared. In my own house, on my favorite day of the year. I feel broken." The plate in her hands stopped moving. For a long time she said nothing. Then, quietly, "I was only trying to help. You seemed so tired." "I was tired," I said. "But this is my family, my home, my Christmas, too." Her eyes filled. She set the plate down carefully. "I miss him," she said, voice cracking. "I miss my husband. I miss when Mark was little and Christmas was mine to make magical. I thought if I did it the old way, maybe I'd feel him again." My own tears fell then. I understood. I really did. But understanding didn't erase the hurt. "I'm sorry you're lonely," I whispered. "But you can't climb inside my life to fix yours. It's not fair to me, or to the kids, or even to Mark." She nodded slow, wiped her eyes with the dish towel. "I didn't see it," she said. "I honestly didn't see what I was doing to you." We stood there in the quiet kitchen, two women crying over a sink full of Christmas dishes. Ellen left the next morning. The goodbye was gentle but stiff. She hugged the children too long. When Mark loaded her suitcases, she touched my arm. "I'm sorry, Sarah," she said. The words were small, but they were real. After the car pulled away, the house felt huge and echo-empty. Wrapping paper still littered the floor. The ham sat half-eaten in the fridge. I walked from room to room, touching things. My crooked stockings, my village houses pushed to the back, and cried the deep, cleansing kind of tears that leave you hollow but lighter. Mark found me sitting on the stairs. He sat behind me, arms around my waist, chin on my shoulder. We didn't speak for a long time. Then he said, "We'll do it different next year." I leaned back against him. "Yes," I answered, "we will." January came cold and bright. I thought about calling Ellen 100 times. I wrote letters I never sent. Finally, one Sunday afternoon when the kids were napping, I dialed. She answered on the second ring, voice careful. Hello? It's Sarah. A pause. Then, softer. Hi, honey. We talked for almost 2 hours. I told her how much the conversation in the kitchen had hurt, but also how much I understood her loneliness. She told me stories about her first Christmases without Mark's dad, how empty the house felt, how she sometimes drove to our town just to sit in the parking lot of the grocery store because it felt closer to family. We cried again, but this time it stitched something. I don't want to lose you, she said. I don't want the kids to lose their grandma. You won't, I promised. But we have to meet in the middle, real middle, planning together, asking, not assuming. She agreed. The next Christmas was different. We started talking in October. Real talks, what each of us needed, what we could give. She still came early, but only 4 days. She brought her spritz cookies, and I made my gingerbread. Both sat on the same platter. She hung her velvet stocking on the end, not the middle. We cooked turkey and ham side by side, laughing when the kitchen got too crowded. On Christmas Eve, we watched the Polar Express in our matching pajamas. 5 pairs this time, because I sewed one for Grandma too. The kids sprinkled reindeer food while Ellen held the bowl. There were no surprise parties, no rearranged shelves without asking. There was space for both of us. It wasn't perfect. Old hurts leave little scars, but scars are proof you healed. That difficult Christmas taught me something I still carry. Love isn't just opening your door. It's also protecting the space behind it. It's saying the hard thing calmly, with tears if needed, because silence can hurt more than words ever could. Family isn't about who gets to be in charge. It's about who is willing to make room. Ellen and I aren't best friends. We never will be. But we are family now in a deeper way. 2 women who chose to see each other, flaws and loneliness and all, and still decided to keep trying. If you're listening to this and your heart feels heavy this holiday season, please hear me. Speak your truth, gently but clearly. Ask for what you need. Give others the chance to do better. Most of the time, they will. Because Christmas isn't about perfect decorations, or the biggest ham, or whose name is first on the tag. It's about hearts finding their way back to each other, even when the path is covered in snow. And sometimes, the hardest winters lead to the warmest springs.